Good morning and welcome to my lounge. I'm back at you. I got some new equipment, as you can see, and I've been getting a lot of positive feedback on the videos that I have, and I appreciate the support. So, in one of my comments, I received a topic, and the question was, "Why are men soft? No Diddy," because that and that's not going to be the title of the video. So that's the only time you're going to hear me say that. So I'm going to replace the word soft with subdued. And I figured at first the initial reaction was, oh, subdued. What the hell? But then, as I like to any topic, I like to think. And as I was thinking and going through the motions of thinking, the research, and looking into something, I came across a quote, which a lot of people do use anyway. I'm going to read it because I do not want to misquote or to mess up anything like that. So just bear with me real fast. So the quote is by let me grab the name. The quote is by. I'm sorry, just bear with me for a minute. The quote is by G. Michael Haft, if I said that right. And the quote goes something like this: "Tough times create strong men create easy times, easy times create weak men create tough times. You have to raise you have to raise warriors, not parasites." So I figured I'd start off with that. And I know that's different meanings for different people. And that is related to actually the question that was asked. Because there's so many layers to that question. So it's not a one layered question. So one of the things I thought about as far as answering the question is when you go back to caveman times and how men would hunt for food, that they had to hunt for food. They had to build fires, create shelters, stay away from the dinosaurs, whatever it was back in millions of years ago. Those men had to be tough because they had no choice because they had to fight dinosaurs and other wild animals and protect their families. So, what happened between then and today? Well, if you look at history and you deep dive into history, you will find that we became civilized. Now, people like the amenities of civilization of today, but however, because we are civilized, it made us lose some of our grit, if you will, as far as on that type of level. So, the more we evolve with technology, the less grit we have to have. Like nowadays, majority of jobs are white collar jobs. There's even talks about the blue collar jobs are very scarce, and you don't see a lot of men going after blue collar jobs. Most of them are, well, not as much as today as it was maybe back in the 80s and 90s. You see men go to school for white collar jobs, for computer jobs and things like that, and because those type of jobs are oversaturated. So that's one of the things that happen because we sit in an air conditioned office 8 hours a day. You drive a car. You don't have to walk 20 miles to get to your job or whatever the case may be. So because of those things, we became comfort. And as I was also thinking about it, in the movie Rocky, Apollo Creed said, the worst thing that can happen to a boxer is to be civilized. Which, if you're a fan of Rocky, which that's another movie I'm a fan of, great movies, um, that the beginning in Rocky, he was hungry. He was hungry for the title, so he fought vigorously and he trained. And once he got the title, he got comfortable, and he lost the title to Clubber Lang, Mr. T, if you will, and that's the whole premise of Rocky 3. Without spoiling it, I mean, at this point, if you haven't seen it, I don't think there's not much spoiling to it. But in terms of that's what that whole movie is all about: regaining your grit, your strength, uh, your manhood, if you will, if that's if that's what you want to go with. So you have that reasoning, right? And then you have, as far as on the relationship dynamic, you have feminism. Oh, people clutching pearls already because they know I'm about to go in a little bit on that because I have talked to a few women about feminism and this. I call it the feminism scam because it's a scam. Like because people confuse feminism with equality and maybe the classic feminism, if you will, if you want to call it that, but we'll roll with that. Classic feminism was just equal pay for equal work and those type of things. Now, through history, surprisingly, which I learned recently, and I thought it was very interesting, that during the time of women's suffrage and the right to vote and everything, majority of the women at the time did not want the right to vote because they believed if they had the right to vote, that means they could be potentially drafted to go to war, which what woman wants to go to war, especially during that time. So, so what do I mean by the feminism scam? Well, what the feminism scam is that they tell you you don't need anybody, you strong, you independent, and that's good. It's not a bad message as far as the perfect world, if you will. But this is where it lies. You know, once you start saying I don't need no man and things like that, what happened was because at the end of the day, men chase women. That's what they want to do, and they figured, let me conform so I can get that woman, if you will. Like I'm a cape for some Scooby snacks. Shout out to Angry Man, by the way. Shout out to the Beano Nation. Angry Man did a master class about the high value man and the average woman. Master class. Please check it out. Anyway, back to what I was saying as far as caping for Scooby snacks. How men became subdued was because they tried to conform to what women wanted and desired. But the only thing that happened with that is women kept moving the goalposts. So, in other words, whatever standard that a woman set, and let's say that the man rise to the occasion, and met that standard that she wanted, she was like, that's not good enough. And this is a little disclaimer off to the side. I'm in my house and they're doing construction out front. If you can hear it through the microphone, I do apologize. Try to keep it to a minimum as much as I can, but I do apologize ahead of time if you do hear it in the background. But like I was saying, women always move the goalposts on the men. So as between civilization evolving, the goalposts being moved, it forced men to conform. So once they conform to those things, it ends up with not women want because their men became too soft, if you will. And I used the word again, great. But men became more subdued because they wanted to have that woman. That's what the men are all about. That's what they wanted at the time. And then when you get into the 50s and the 60s, things of that nature, then you have the welfare system, the government implementing, pretty much getting the men out the house. So therefore, part of the welfare system was to empower women to feel that they don't even need the man. So once again, because there was times during that time where men would still live with the women, but when the welfare guys came around to check to make sure that there was no man in the house, they had to run out the house and all that kind of stuff. That contribute to that too. That contribute to a man being subdued because they figured it's easier to get free money, if you will. So as feminism evolved and it turned into what it is today, it made men worse. Which also feminism created the single parent household. So majority of men nowadays are raised by women. So what you're really seeing is the reflection of yourselves, if you will. So when that question is asked, why men are subdued, that's another component of that reason behind that is because they're raised by women. So of course, when you have men that are not in the household or men that are not involved, and I'm gonna talk about this later on when we talk about parental alienation and things like that. We'll talk about that later because that's a total separate topic that we could get on, but that plays a role because now that man is not in the house. So because that man is not in the house, now that boy is raised by women. So when that boy is raised by women, what they don't tell you is when a single mother has two kids, if they have a boy and a girl, this is where the girls of today are taught that all a man is a resource. Use everything that you can. Get the most that you can get out that man, whatever the case may be. But when a woman raises a son nowadays, they say, you got to treat all women with respect. Every single one of us deserve respect, and you don't hit women, which of course I don't condone that, but that's what they say. It's such an extreme where the the boy as he grows up, he's thinking that every woman deserves the respect that his mother deserves, and that's not necessarily always the case because that's where the men come in, because a man would say, hey, listen, not every girl out in these streets deserves the respect that your mom deserves, because that's two different tiers. And what happens is, you, as the boy becomes a man, he's just a byproduct of what he learned from his mother, and those are the things that are being taught, that are being learned. That's why you see men throwing temper tantrums and things of that nature, because the roles have become reversed. So it's not really about a man being subdued. It's just the roles are reversed because they're trying to go along to get along. I talked about that in my first video. That's another component of go along to get along. So that plays a major role in that. So that does obviously lead over to relationships, because you're also talking about trying to have relationships within the function, because you never rise to the occasion. You revert back to your training. So therefore, if you never saw a two-parent household, only thing you know is a single-parent household. So how are you going to conduct a relationship when you don't even know how to have a relationship? And that works both ways, because you got women out here that don't know how to be wives. At the same time, you have men that don't know how to be husbands. So when you combine those two things, you're already in dysfunction. You're already walking into the situation with the dysfunction. So how can we solve some of this? Well, it's not a one-day thing, and it's not a simple answer. It is a complex answer. But part of it is you cannot want a guy that's emotionally in tuned and in touch with his feminine side, and all of a sudden when they conform to that, you cannot turn around and then say, hey, I don't want you to conform to your feminine side, I want you to be the masculine men. Because women always want all that stuff until a robber come out. If a robber come out with the gun, now you want Mr. Sensitivity to step up and be that barbarian that he needs to be. So it's one of those, people always try to have it both ways, and you can't always have it both ways, and that's what makes it difficult. And I know That might not be the answer you want to hear, but that's what is being seen around here. That's what's going on with that. Matter of fact, uh, before I did this video this morning, I actually woke up early. This is, if people that know me, they know I'm never normally up this time. But I woke up early and I said, you know what? I want to do a video. I want to tackle this topic. I also want to try out my new program I got that I'm shooting on, and my microphone. The headphones wasn't, I was getting too much feedback. So I said, let me just ditch the headphones and just speak. So when I went to go get some breakfast, I actually went to get breakfast. Oh, like like I said, people that know me, they know I don't even wake up this early. I don't really eat this early like that. But I said, you know what? I'm feeling good. Let me go out to get breakfast. So I go to the deli that's not far from the house. And as I was walking back, I see I'm in my zone because I got my headphones on, listening to music, getting motivated to do this video because that, like, doing this stuff is my focus. I see this woman across the street, and I hear her yelling through the music. So I'm like, okay, I guess, I'm just looking. And I see this guy all the way down the block with tank top, look like he just jumped out of bed. And he's yelling and screaming. I don't even know what the argument is because I got the music on. But I said to myself, I said, self, she's down the block. She's away from you. She's walking away from you. And you out here screaming. And then you're trying to, like, chase her down. Like, you looking kind of crazy. And I'm like, I ain't getting involved because, that ain't none of my business. But it's just like, dude was looking crazy. And at the same time, I thought to myself, I said, damn, that looks like the opposite of when men used to walk away and the women were the ones screaming, chasing you down, telling you what it's going to be or whatever the argument is. But now seeing a guy doing that, it was just crazy to me. And it goes back to why that question is raised and the confusion that society has had because of all of this stuff. So you just see it everywhere. It doesn't matter what. Like at my job, I see it all. I see it all the time. I see the women taking over as men. I guess it's like the thing to do, and it's a false sense because they that masculine energy, and then they want to turn around and then I want a real man, but I'm that alpha female, I'm King Dingling out here, and it's like, what? No. If I get in a relationship with you, it's like being two dudes in a relationship. We can't do that. We're not doing that. You know what I mean? But it's just crazy. Like, it's like Bizarro World. It's almost like we were dropped off in a different dimension. I don't know, but it amused me, but it didn't amuse me, and it just showed the state of affairs that we were in when I saw that. Because, like I said, all I want to do was get my little sandwich and put a little something in my stomach and eat and focus on what I want to talk about. And I know I'm jumping around with this topic and everything like that, but this is the authentic me, so I'll ramble from time to time, but I'm gonna try to stay on topic. But that's the biggest thing. Like, men are more subdued than they used to be because society also conformed. Oh, I did forget another point of why you have more subdued men. I got 2 words for you. Toxic masculinity. Yeah, that's another scam right there. Toxic masculinity. So the things that you want men to have grit and be tough on is toxic in the year 2024. So if you want to change your behavior back, these are some of the components that you got to change. You can't tell a man. A man can be like a wolf or a lion, whatever. But I'm gonna use a wolf for the second. A wolf howls at the moon. You can't tell a wolf to not holler at the moon because that's what a wolf does. You cannot tell a lion not to be the king of the jungle. Like when Cat Williams did the Tiger in the Zoo. Great comedy skit, well written. Because when you're in the zoo, you forget that you forget you were tired. That's what he was said. It's the same thing with society. Like when we got civilized, it's kind of like the equivalent of being put in the zoo because we forget that we were cavemen. We forgot we beat on our chest. We forgot that we were hunters and gatherers and things of that nature. I mean, we do it in the sense of making money and salaries, yes, but nevertheless, you're sitting behind a desk and typing on a computer. Or, shout out to the blue collar guys, truckers, all that stuff. You know, it's they're the closest to what the men used to do. Those people that do the drilling and all of that stuff, all the jobs that women will not do. Like, so big shout out to them because that's how we do live comfortably within that. So, not for nothing, if you want all men to kind of be like those blue collar type of guys, like it goes back to these guys outside, cut, they're sawing concrete. Not for nothing, ain't no woman I know that would be out there doing that to fix this driveway. They wouldn't. So kudos to them. You know, so sometimes, like my mom would say, you gotta let men be men and women be women, and that's the problem. We so busy trying to bleed over on each other that we don't know what's right and what's wrong and what's left and what's right. So I know I'm 20 minutes in right now, so I'm not gonna stay on too long because I do have rest of the day that I gotta head out and everything else like that. But I just want to talk on something like that real quick. Stay tuned to the lounge. I got a couple of more topics. Talk to my sister, and she gave me a couple of topics that I'm gonna sit and look at and everything like that. And I think there's some good topics. The one that really sticks out, and maybe this might excite you guys, is confidence versus ego. So that's gonna be a little more deep dive that I'm gonna have to do with that because I want to make sure that I can come with a fair assessment of what those things are. So with that being said, enjoy the rest of your day. Looking forward to the feedback. Once again, thank you everybody for the support. Thank you for the feedback. I'm getting a lot of positive things and I appreciate it from the bottom of my heart. So thank you and have a good day.